Good afternoon and welcome to the 280th, no, I think 230th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to be joined by Milton head coach Ben Reaves. We will check up on what's going on at the Empire. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about Holy Innocents and their football season last year. We'll try to get Coach Todd Winter on. And then probably around 12:30, we're going to be joined by Carly Miles. She is Chambly's girls soccer head coach. Last year they won the state title. It got taken away from them, and then they had an undefeated season this year, and I believe they won 9-0 last night. So a great response from them. A really exciting way to get back to the state finals and cap it off with the state title after last season. So we'll go ahead and get things started with Coach Reaves. Hey, Coach, so how are things going over at the Empire?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on to talk a little bit about Milton football, but things are rolling over here right now. It's a busy time. We started spring practice on Monday, and just this week alone, I think we've had 50, 60 coaches that have stopped by the school just to check out our student athletes, and many of those have also come back to watch practice. So there's a lot going on right here right now, but that's also a good thing this time of year too.
Yeah, and it's just got to feel a lot different this year. Last season, you take over as head coach. You guys have one returning starter offensively. You have this ridiculously challenging schedule right out the gates. You're playing these nationally ranked powerhouses. I think it was so important for your guys to kind of answer the call. You talked about the goal was just you wanted them to empty their tanks out there and just give it their all. So just talk about last season, having all the holes to fill and just the effort those guys showed up with.
Yeah, last season on top of everything else that we had to replace and overcome, we also had 6 new coaches on staff and 2 new coordinators, 2 new schemes. So that added a whole new twist to the challenge as well. But like we always talk about around here, we just want to find out what our ceiling is. And as a team, we want to reach that ceiling. If it's a state title, that's great. If it's not a state title, we know that we can walk off the field with our heads hung high. And that's what we did last season. We got everything that we could get out of that team. Incredible senior class that bonded and came together and said that, on their watch, Milton football was going to continue its legacy, and lost to an incredible Mill Creek team in the Final Four. Nothing but great things to say about them and their coaches, and they were definitely the better team, not only that night, but that season as well. But, we walked off that field with our heads hung high, knowing that we did all that we could do. The kids did empty their tank last year like I asked them to, and I'm very proud of that team. I'm very proud that, my first year as head coach, that's the group that got me started, and a group that I'll always remember. And then moving forward, we did have a lot of holes to fill last year, which means a lot of young kids had to step up and play, many of them in vital roles, and it feels good to have some consistency. The entire coaching staff is back. We've added Coach Drew Connell back to the staff. He was the defensive coordinator here back in 2018 when we won our state championship. He briefly went over to Johns Creek as the head coach, but he's back here on our staff, coaching D-line, so an incredible pickup there. And then from a player perspective, returning a lot. So we've really been able to start spring practice in somewhat of an advanced mode, just because there is a lot of knowledge from the players. There's a lot of cohesion from the coaching staff, and it's been a really good week of practice so far.
Yeah, that is a huge add. I thought Drew did a tremendous job at Johns Creek, and obviously during his stay at Milton when you guys were coordinators together. But you mentioned Williamson. He came over from Lanier. I think he did a great job of keeping the defense up to speed last year. And then, he's coached some incredible talents, especially on the defensive line from his time at the Longhorns. So talk a little bit more about the coaching staff and how that allows you to just focus on the head coach and things and the little things.
Yeah, I say all the time it's the best coaching staff in the state, and that's not just coach speak. I'd put that up against anybody's staff. But yeah, Coach David Willingham, he came over from
Willingham.
Lanier. Well, he was the defensive coordinator there, interim head coach for a year. Coach guys like Derek Brown, and they had a lot of success. And he brought some good energy and some good juice, a little different mindset to the defense last year. So that was good to have my first year. Just someone that not only I could turn the defense over to and not worry, but someone that I knew was going to bring the energy and the juice with him. And his coaching staff from Coach Justin Miller, who played at Clemson and in the NFL, and Coach Carletta, Coach Estes, Coach Ronaldo. They all, did an incredible job last year. And now to add Coach Connell, who has head coaching experience and has coordinator experience, state championship coordinator experience, it's going to be scary what they can cook up in that room. And they got some good guys to use out there on the field. So I'm looking forward to seeing that unit. And then flipping over on the offensive side of the ball, that staff has stayed completely the same. Coach Stevie Jackson, who, last year came to us from North Gwinnett, where he also won a state championship as a coordinator there. He led the offense and did an incredible job last year of just figuring out, who should be where and getting the ball to the right people at the right times. Incredible job by our line coach last year, Rob Williams. We didn't have just a plethora of linemen to choose from like we did that 21 season. And Coach Williams really bonded his group, molded his group, and got the most out of those guys. And then Coach Terrence Edwards and Coach Caleb Reaves did an incredible job with the guys out wide. Steven Strami, it was pivotal in developing Ryan G., who's now one of the top prospects in the country at tight end. And Coach Vinny Silvestri, all he does is churn out 1,000-yard backs. So every coach on staff deserves an accolade. I wish that they could all get one in some form or fashion, but, I'm lucky to have each and every one of them.
Yep, Vinny, your running back coach and special teams coach. I actually did nominate him for special teams coordinator of the year. I thought he did a great job for you guys last year, and he's been a huge staple to the success and helping you guys turn special teams into a weapon. I want to ask you about that Mill Creek game because I look at your season last year. You have the really impressive kind of test early on where you guys are battle tested. You pick up huge wins over Roswell, Alpharetta. You lose a North Cobb game where it's not necessarily a game where things are going your way. What was the takeaway, though, from the Mill Creek game? Just the way they came out, obviously how just on fire they were at that stage of the season. And then did you guys also move that game to a neutral site?
Yeah, so due to the seating capacity rule, Mill Creek did not want to play the game here at Milton. That rule has since changed. I'd like to think
That's right.
that we had a lot to do with that, which I'm proud of, so that more schools can host games at their sites. But yeah, so we had to change the game to a new location. So we played at Lakewood, and it was a weird volleyball day. Everybody was out of their routines, but that was on both sides of the ball. So that's not an excuse for Milton at all. I know it was a weird schedule for both. It was just one of those games that, like you said, they came out on fire, and you blinked, and I looked up, and we're down 3 scores. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, number one, they truly were just better than us. They were better than us. They were the best team in the state, and that's how that goes. And also, reflecting back on the 2021 season, we beat that team in the third round of the playoffs to move on to the semis, and almost all of those guys came back as seniors, and they got one more shot at Milton in the semis, and they weren't going to waste it. So kudos to them for the way they played that night. It was probably the sloppiest that we played all season. So I hate that was the performance that we had that night. But at the same time, Mill Creek was the best team in the state, and I don't know, if it would have mattered one way or the other.
Yeah, they certainly had the experience advantage in that game, as you mentioned. I thought another thing they did really well last season, and we saw it all over the place, was just how they utilized certain players. guys that were truly versatile, could be used in a variety of roles. Just as a coaching staff, I mean, how big of a factor is that in 7A in terms of game planning, just going up against these really adaptive and sophisticated offensive schemes?
Yeah, it's something that we believe in here at Milton, which means that hopefully it's tough to stop, and it is tough to stop. You want to have your best 11 on the field, and you want to get your best players the ball as much as possible. And, what they did a really good job of is placing where their players were. It's really hard to try to take away a key player when you have no idea if he's going to be in a H-back position, if he's going to be in a running back position, if he's going to be split out wide. It's really tough to tell your best player on defense, like, hey, your job is to try to take that guy away. So that's what they did a good job of, not only having the best guys on the field and getting the ball to them, but making sure that they moved those guys around to where, we really couldn't just key on and try to take away, one or two of their best guys.
Yep, and obviously that was a game where you guys had the three-score deficit early, so it is going to throw you guys off a little bit. But I think you mentioned last time just your quarterback Luke Nickel, how he's not shaken. He's really confident out there. He's wise beyond his years in a sense. Just what did you see from him overall last season? How he handled himself, and just how he's prepared himself to have a big junior year.
Yeah, all those things are true about Luke, and Luke is a big reason why we made it to the semifinals last year. And this season, the biggest improvements that he's made outside of some things to do with his game, his release has gotten better and quicker. His comfort level is grown just because he's now been in the system for a year and he's coming back to it, but just his leadership and the way he works. He's not a quarterback that's going to go in the corner of the weight room and do the band workout all session. He's going to try to lift with the tight ends and see if he can outlift the tight ends. And that's his mindset, that's his work ethic, and that spills over into the rest of the team. And when the guys see the quarterback doing it, a lot of them feel like I need to be doing the same thing, if I want to get on his level and follow his lead. So just happy of not only the way his game is developed, but also the way that he's really becoming a leader for his unit and for our team this season.
Yep, and in terms of just maximizing all that talent you have, what do you expect from Ryan G this year? He's 6'5". He's got a big frame at tight end. I mean, I think he can play a much bigger role in the offense. So, how has he kind of been preparing himself to take that next step?
Yeah, I completely agree. He can play a much bigger role, and he will play a much bigger role. One of the tough things about last season and just trying to develop scheme and plays and figure out where the ball was going was a lot of those guys were young. We didn't really have any varsity data on them, but now we do, and now we know who we can really develop things around, and he's definitely one of those. He played last year at 216. Ryan's up to 242 right now, and he looks really good. He's been eating, lifting weights, not any fat on his body. He actually gave up playing baseball to run track. So his speed has stayed up. He hasn't lost a step. He may have gained one. So he's going to be a problem for defenses to figure out this year, just not only with how much bigger and faster he's gotten and what he can do on the versatility, that he can split out wide and we can put him in the slot. We can put him outside. We can move him around pretty much anywhere we want and trust him to run good routes and catch the ball as well.
Yep, and a huge part of your success last year is being able to run the ball when you needed to, keep drives alive. Scott Moskowitz was an outstanding player. So, what's the backfield kind of looking like this year, and how do you replace that 1,000-yard rusher?
Yeah, we'll see, and nobody has really solidified that role yet. After a week of spring practice, we got a couple guys they're working there in the backfield. TJ Lester and Shamar Vick right now are probably leading the way for that starting job, but they're also different backs, and there could be room for both of them. There could be room for some two-back thunder and lightning type stuff. So it'll be fun to see what Coach Jackson and the offensive staff does with that position. But it is one right now that the competition is high at, and it'll probably go, through spring and through the summer before we figure out who's going to be toting it for us.
Yep, and I'm assuming, all the talent you're returning on that defensive line, that's got to be a key this offseason with them kind of setting the tone. And then over on the offensive line, it looks like you've had some new additions as well to bolster that group. So, how confident are you just how tough Milton's going to be in the trenches this year?
Yeah, it definitely feels good to be returning guys up front on both sides of the ball. We didn't return many last year, so the comfort of the guys up front and just seeing what Coach Williams, the great job that he does, and adding Coach Connell, I know those guys up front are going to be coached up, and we're going to be able to maximize them. And we do have confidence in the guys that we have on both sides of the ball, and we do feel like we can be balanced on both sides of the ball due to those guys and what they're capable of. So you can look for us to be very balanced. We're not gonna have to shy away from one scheme or a certain type of play due to deficiencies. We're going to be able to do what we would like to do, and hopefully we just execute that well.
Yep, and walk us through real quick, just where last or this year's senior class was able to sign to go to the next level.
Yeah, so right now at Florida, Bryce Thornton is there. He's been coming back and watching practice, and he looks good. He's having a good time at Florida. And then Robert Billings, safety, signed with Clemson. Braden Holmes was a corner that signed with Furman. Caleb Moran, linebacker, signed with Army. Will Parton, linebacker, signed with Lehigh. Wyatt Smalley, who was mainly a DN for us, also played some tight end. He's with Ole Miss, and he's going to be a tight end on that side of the ball. So we had some guys that we're definitely gonna miss, and they'll be tough to replace. But that's for the coaches to figure out and their job right now.
Yep, and then refresh my memory in terms of special teams. That was Felipe Mata. Has he since
Felipe
graduated?
Mota,
Mota.
he'll graduate here soon. He's not kicking anywhere as of now, but hopefully there's somebody that may want to pick up a kicker late because he did set a school record and boomed a 52-yarder here early in the season. So hopefully we'll be able to find him a home too.
Yep, I remember that. And so let's talk a little bit about this year's schedule. Have you changed any of these out-of-state matchups early on?
Yeah, so we're still going to host the Freedom Bowl, which is a national event put on by Battle National Guard here at Milton, where we try to get some of the best teams in Georgia to play some of the best teams from out of state. Still have not narrowed down who we're going to play in that game yet. Hopefully we'll narrow that down soon, but I know it'll be a top team in the country. And then week 2, we're going to head down near Fort Lauderdale to Davie, Florida, where we're going to play Western. Western, they're always a national powerhouse, and I know they have a lot of top D1 prospects on their team this year, so that'll be a good trip and a good test. I believe Western is the team that Johns Creek actually went down and played last season. So, maybe Coach Connell can help us with that game plan a little bit more than usual that week. But after we play those, we come back and, there's no time to rest because you get straight into Roswell, Alpharetta, and North Cobb. And it's a tough non-region, but that's the way we want it. That's the way we set it up. And it's definitely be a lot of fun to see where we come out of it at.
For sure. And was last year the year you guys went and played at the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, so we played in Ohio in the Hall of Fame game against Christian Brothers, who ended up winning the state championship in Missouri. So, at the time we knew that they were good. Didn't know how good, but they ended up finishing their season strong. So congrats to them.
Nice. And then what have those out-of-state trips been like just in terms of uh, helping to just broaden the Milton brand, getting you guys experience against teams you aren't necessarily familiar with, and also just helping the team bond together?
Yeah, and that last part is key. It's not about the game. The game is not the most important part. When we go on these trips as a team, even as a coaching staff, we never come back the same. We bond. Logistically, we try to set the buses and the hotel rooms up to where the kids on the team, they're forced to meet somebody new. They're forced to get out of their comfort zone and spend some time with a teammate. And there is a lot of bonding that goes on those trips, 100%. It's about the experience as well. We try to take the team somewhere that they may or may not ever have a chance to go to, but there's some type of historical landmark or cultural landmark that we can take them to. We've gone to LA, we've gone to Philadelphia, we've gone to Ohio, now we'll be going down to Florida. So there's a lot of things that I hope the kids gain from the experience of the trip. And then once you finally get to the game, uh, you're playing one of the top teams in the country. So you find out everything you need to know about your team, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what you need to get better on immediately before you come home and get back into these Georgia teams.
Yep, and I mean, there's going to be the huge rivalry games, the national showcases. Um, I mean, you were also talking about your staff, just how well prepared they are. You guys are kind of way ahead of where you were last year with just all the returning guys. But who else besides Ryan G have you just noticed has really taken that next step physically to kind of play that bigger role this year?
The thing is, there's a long list of guys. We've had probably the best offseason since I've been here at Milton. Our strength coach, Jeff Woods, and I sat down and really revamped some things and brought some new energy to the weight room, brought some new equipment to the weight room, and we've had an incredible off season. Ryan has probably put on the most weight and muscle, other than a returning O lineman, Riley Rushing. Riley started for us at guard last year, and he played at around 260, and he's up to 295 right now. He looks really, really good. But I could sit here all day and just talk about all the kids, the games that they made. But they've been working hard, and I'm excited for people to see them again this year, and they can showcase the work they put in.
And then last question, we got to ask about the region. You guys have probably the longest active streak in the state right now in terms of most region championships. What's the streak at right now, and what are your impressions just after squaring off with Region 6 last year?
Yeah, the good news and the honest truth is I really don't know what the streak is at right now. Yeah, 28, 29, 30 is somewhere right there. I don't know the exact number, and I hope the team doesn't either, because that's not what we need to focus on. Our focus is just that game on that night at that moment, and being in the region that we're in, the Forsyth County region. All those teams are going to come well prepared. Great coaches in that county, and the kids, good athletes. They play hard. They're always where they're supposed to be, and they make you earn everything that you get. So, as long as we're focusing less on what the streak is and what's going on in that game, we'll be all right. And I hope that, just like I don't know the number, my team doesn't either.
Awesome. Well, Coach Reaves, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to catch up later this offseason. I know Najee wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about your players this year, so hopefully that will come soon. But thank you so much. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me on.
All right, you bet. So there goes Coach Reaves. And yeah, it really was a great story last year. Just heading into the season, he's taking over for Coach Clack. A lot of us didn't see that move coming. Um, the thing I didn't even mention, if you recall, Milton had this incredible season in 2021, and then was it LV Overton, their highest rated prospect, decided to skip his senior year. So that was another player that they lost heading into last season. And then Bryce Thornton, who he mentioned is at Florida now, he missed like the first half of the season. So they had one returning starter offensively, a sophomore quarterback, and they just played their asses off, honestly. They are just a tough football team. The coaching staff obviously deserves a lot of credit in how they got those guys prepared despite the lack of varsity experience, or what did he call it? He had a better word for it, but yeah, so they're in a much better spot, I believe. And then they obviously had that big first ever win as Coach Reaves, as head coach, came against Roswell. They had a huge defensive stop at the end of that game, I think on the 4-yard line, against what is their biggest rival. And I think that was the game where it kind of made the team hungry to continue the winning. And then they had one bad game against North Cobb. It was a televised game. That was when North Cobb was still healthy with Malachi Singleton at quarterback. And then I don't want to be wrong on that, but I think he was still healthy in that game. And then they sweep the region, make it to the semifinals once again, and then fell to Mill Creek at a neutral site when Mill Creek was truly rolling on all cylinders. Another thing that's interesting about that Mill Creek game, if you recall, Hayden Clark, Mill Creek starting quarterback, their senior, he opened up that game 7 of 8 passing, 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then he got injured in the game and went to the sideline. And that was when sophomore Shane Throgmartin came in. He threw back-to-back touchdown passes to Malachi Wood. And then, Najee, where has he recently been offered? Shane Throgmartin? West Virginia. So, yeah, Mill Creek had so many blowouts last year, and Shane Throgmartin has gotten some playing experience, including the win against Milton. He pretty much played the entire second half, finished 4 of 9, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. But as Najee brought to my attention last night, he just got a big offer from West Virginia. He'll be heading into his junior season, taking the reins of the defending state champion Mill Creek Hawks. So he's a very interesting player to be watching. And if Mill Creek and Milton were to square off again, it would be those 2 junior quarterbacks, Luke Nickel and Shane Throgmartin. That junior quarterback class is stacked. A lot of attention will be on the seniors this year with Jeremy Hicklinski, Sire Hardaway, Air Nolan, and then a lot of attention will be on the rising sophomore class, but don't sleep on the juniors with guys like Luke Nickel. So let's see if we have Chambly coming on soon. Jordan was setting up that interview, but in the meantime, we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So Jordan said that Chambly's coach would perhaps be ready at 12:30. I'll give her a couple minutes, but in the meantime, let me go over kind of how dominant they were this season. So in the state championship game last night, they won 9-0 against Greenbrier. That is ridiculous. You almost get a mercy ruling in the state championship. So let's look at the goals you had. Let's see, in the first half, all underclassmen scoring goals. Kara Kroon, junior, Ansley Harrison, junior, Alessandra Washington, sophomore, and then Solai Washington in the final minutes of the first half. That put them up 4-0. And then Solai opened the second half with a goal. Cameron Fowl, the lone senior that scored a brace. She had 2 goals, and then Solai closed out the game with 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. So she finished with 4 goals. That is impressive, the junior. So Chambly, that is really exciting. I believe that was the first official state title in the program history after last year. And then I believe they are the first girls public school from DeKalb to win the state title. They finished the season, good grief, outscoring opponents 145-8. gave up 8 goals all season. The only game they did not outright win was their tie 2-2 to Marist, who I believe also just won the state title. Let's see. All right, I'll pull up our scoreboard. That'll be the fastest way. One sec. Okay, I believe that will be tonight. Has not happened yet. So at this point on the girls' side, Westminster got the 2-1 win over North Oconee. You had the Big Chambly win. Fellowship Christian 5-1 over Athens Academy. Mount Vernon 3-1 over Paideia. Aquinas won 5-2 in overtime over Towns County. That was a shootout. And then Oconee County 3-1 over Bremen. That was in the 3A1. On the boys' side, Johnson Gainesville had a 4-2 win over Westminster. Both those teams were new to 4A and were outstanding this season. Dalton held off Midtown in overtime in the Class 5A. That is their 7th boys soccer state title. And Midtown actually had a great season on the boys and girls side. And I've been noticing overall athletically, they've been making some real progress across the board, whether it's track, but I mean, they've had a great spring. Tatnall County 3-2 win over Providence Christian. You had Koala Creek getting the 1-0 win over Oconee County. Christian Heritage 2-1 over Georgia Military, and then the Paideia Atlanta International game. So, we have a coach. Awesome. So congratulations on the state championship. What a season. I was just going over the margin of scoring you guys had over the opponents. Just talk about how special this year was.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, this was a very special year for us. You know, coming in at the start of the year, the girls really wanted to look forwards and not backwards. So we had the girls just work hard every day in practice to try and get back to yesterday, and that hard work paid off in the end.
Yeah, and so Coach Miles, when did you find out you were taking over, and then what was your just initial message to the girls, just knowing that last season you guys had such an exciting year, but it ends up, I guess, not officially going in the books, but just how did you tell them that it's okay, we can do it again this year? Like, as you said, let's just focus on the game ahead.
I found out that I'd be taking the position right at the end of the school year last year, the beginning of the summer. You know, I had reach out.
17 goals. Alessandra Washington, she might be the younger sister of Salai. She had 9 goals. So, I mean, they're going to be returning so much talent next year, too. So, looks like they could be building that dynasty. And as she said, she took over in the summer. They knew that they kind of broke through with a historic run, gets taken away with some infraction with eligibility issue, I believe, and then gets taken away. But then they turn around and close out probably obviously the most dominant season they've ever had, but can be argued perhaps the most dominant team in the state this season. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. So I was just talking about Salai Washington, the type of season she had. Just talk about that a little bit, the 42 goals and just how she's able to just spark such great offense.
Yeah, so she's a super talented player. And not only is she a talented player, she's a humble player, which I think is where a bunch of her success comes from. You know, she obviously is insanely talented, but she never lets that get to her head. And she doesn't let it affect who she is as a teammate and as a player. She is just so great to work with. She works hard every practice. And she's got a really great soccer IQ. She knows where to be. She knows how to communicate on the field. She knows the plays, and she knows how to make those around her better, which I think attributes to a lot of her success.
Absolutely, and those opportunities wouldn't be coming if it wasn't for obviously a great defense you guys have. So it's easy for me to look at the offensive stats, but who really stepped up for you guys this year defensively to have those key stops, make it difficult, and then get the counter going?
Yeah, we have a defensive line led by two really strong center backs, Cami Maynor and Reagan Drummond. Reagan Drummond was one of our senior captains, and she is the start of our defensive line. And Cami Maynor, we have young, really great talent. She's a sophomore, and she's our other center back who is there to stop pretty much anything. You know, this whole season, we haven't had many shots on goal because we have such a strong duo of center backs. Then on the outsides, we've got Reagan Keeney, another senior captain. And on the other side, Courtney Osborne, another sophomore who, again, those two are playmakers. They get the ball moving up the field, and they get back when they're needed.
Yeah, and I mean, these are highly recruited girls. Salai, it looks like she's committed to Duke. Kara Kroon committed to UCLA. You'll have them back next year as well. So, I mean, how have they been able to just come out and lead you guys just at such a excellent rate?
Yeah, Soleil, she is fantastic. Like I said, she's been also playing internationally. She's more than likely going to be with the Jamaican women's national team. We might see some more international play out of her this summer and next summer. So she's able to somehow manage that, manage her club season, manage the soccer season, and be a part of a really great academic high school where she keeps her grades, above a 4.0. Same with Kara Kroon. Kara Kroon is an excellent teammate on the field. She works hard in the classroom, so they somehow find a way to balance all those exciting things in their lives and still have the dedication to Chamblee soccer. And it just shows what kind of girls that those two people are. They have big hearts, they have really great drive, and they just want to work hard and support their community and really put the Chamblee name out there.
Yeah, so how typical is that? Obviously, they are busy with soccer year-round, but in terms of the team overall, is it pretty much they all are in their clubs, they're doing their thing, and then you guys just come together once that season starts and hit the ground running?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Right before the school season starts, their club season's in. So they've just finished up really great club seasons where some of them are on the same team. So it's really great to have them working together on their club teams away from the school program. And then after the school season ends, they start going back to their club teams. And a lot of them play on regional and national teams for Concord. So they'll start playing all throughout the country.
And then walk us through your soccer background.
I grew up playing soccer. I'm from South Georgia, so obviously not a big program like there is here. But I've been playing soccer since I was 5. I played up through my high school at Tift County, and then decided to stop my career there. I didn't want to go further, so that was that. And then I started teaching and coaching at the middle school level, and then I took over here this year.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Chamblee's had a really successful season, or school year, I would say, just across the board athletically. I know this was a really exciting moment for you guys, but I mean, what's next just with all this talent you guys are going to have returning last year? You guys just dominate this season in terms of what you guys are able to do in the playoffs and how you close it out, the 9-0 win. What's this offseason going to be like, just knowing that you guys are in the midst of a dynasty?
I think it's going to be sweet for these girls, especially our seniors who wanted to end the season on a high, and all the girls who were part of last year's team. These girls have just been looking forward and not backwards. They've tried not to harp on last season and let it get them down. They've just been focused on what they can do and what they show on the field. And as you guys and everyone's seen, these girls have mega talent. They work together and they play for each other. So it's really exciting to see that. And, we're only graduating 8 seniors. So we have a very young team, which is exciting moving forward to have all that young talent still on the field and there to play for us next year.
And then what was the, in your opinion, highlight of the season? A specific goal, a specific assist where it really just showcased the level of play that your girls have?
I actually think it was an entire game, which was our third round playoff game or second round playoff game, third round, yeah, against Cambridge. That Cambridge team was extremely, extremely skilled and talented. They worked hard like we did. That was a very fun game to play and to watch. Not for me to play, but for the girls to play. It was a fun game for me to watch. It was a nail biter, and that level of talent facing each other was just a great testament of what girls high school sports can be. To have so many talented players on the field just battling it out. So I think that was the game that stood out in my mind to show our girls working together the best. And then our first goal at our Marist game. Marist has been a long time monkey on Chambly's back. We couldn't seem to beat them, but this year we tied that game. So it was really special to have the girls come together to fight that battle and come out with at least a tie there. For
sure. And yeah, you were mentioning that Cambridge game. I mean, I think it is indicative of the team playing together. You have looks like 5 different girls getting assists, 5 different girls scoring goals. So that had to have been a really big just confidence boost for your team just heading into the next round, just knowing that you have a lot of different contributors that have stepped up in big ways.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge for us. Going through the season, we've had a variety of goal scorers, and I think that's one of the best things about Chambly is that we're not putting it all on one person. We have Tole, we have Kara, and we have Ansley up top playing our front 3, and those girls are fantastic offensive-wise. But then we've got girls on the field, we've got girls on the bench who can come in and they can score for us as well and make those offensive opportunities for us.
Well, awesome, and I couldn't be more excited for you guys. Just after last year, I mean, to go into next season, you guys are the defending champs. Everyone knows it. You guys will be really fun to watch, and just the talent is tremendous. So congratulations once again, Coach Miles, and I hope you guys have a good weekend.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Jason Longshore called our game yesterday, and I think he said it best that, our Chambly team is one of the most exciting and best to watch. So I think he said it best.
Yeah, we talked to him earlier this year. He's been making the rounds, and we'll definitely catch up with him and get some expert opinions from him on just what he saw from you guys. But thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, so there goes Coach Miles. Thank you, Jordan, for setting that up, and Najee for pointing out just how absolutely loaded their team is. Juniors already getting offered or commits to Duke and UCLA, scoring 42 goals in a season. Watch out for them next year, and now they can actually call themselves the defending champs. They're going to bring prestige to these other events and tournaments they're going into now that they have proven it and closed out a season unbeaten. So that was huge for them. Looks like, okay, we'll take one more break. Let me reset. We'll talk some track and field and some other news on the other side.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So I'll just go over some news in the final segment. I got a message last night, and I was thinking about it yesterday with Najee and Graham about the XFL championship game coming up, and it was from Lainey Angel, who previously worked at SCORE, and she reached out with some information. Let's see. It was about the former UGA and Georgia Tech players that are going to be in the XFL championship game this weekend. That's Bellamy, Haynes, Harrion for UGA, Barnes for Georgia Tech, and there are going to be 10 former Georgia high school football players in the game. That is the third most out of any state. So I'll try to get some more information about that and coverage and obviously we'll see how they do in the big game. That'll be exciting. The XFL has been successful this year. There's been a lot of these alternative leagues that have come and gone, but I think they've done a pretty good job, and it's been a solid season. I'll definitely check that out. Then Darren Coleman from Grayson, he's a player I talked about and showed some footage of earlier because I was really impressed with his footwork in these drills, the one-on-ones, and he's just like next level with it in terms of his speed. I've seen a lot of guys do these drills, these really complex cone and ladder drills. He's got the fastest feet I've ever seen. So I was talking to him. Let's see what he has done. He's gotten more offers. He participated in the Friday Night Lights event at Route King Training under Coach Hilton. He received the MVP on both sides, wide receiver and defensive back. I think he's going to be a guy that impacts the results of Grayson every single game this year. He's going to step up in a big way. No, he's at Central Gwinnett now, formerly at Grayson, now at Central Gwinnett. And that's what I was saying last time. I think every single game this year he's going to have a big impact. He's currently now has offers from UAB, Arkansas State, Akron, Western Kentucky, Bethune-Cookman, and Austin Peay. And he picked up a 3-star rating on On3 Sports. So he is blowing up. I think Central Gwinnett's a team we're going to have to try to have on very soon. All right, so in terms of track and field, that's going to be this weekend, the big sectionals. Now let's look at the locations real quick in case you're in the area and wondering what is going on. So in 7A, Archer's hosting Sectional B, that's regions 4, 6, 7, and 8. Then on the girls' side, who is hosting? Okay, Carrollton's hosting the Sectional A. And what makes this a really big stage for the track and field season is you're going to have these 4 regions. So some of these regions have 5 or 6 teams in them, and only the top 8 performances from sectionals are going to get to go to state. So that's huge. This is really going to narrow it down and provide that much needed depth for the teams that are in the running for the team title this year. They're going to have to qualify as many events as they can. And then after the state championships the following week, then we have the Wingfoot Night of Champions at Georgia Tech, and that's going to be the top 16 from each event, and then they will compete for the overall title. But in terms of the team state championships, we will know a lot more this weekend. In 7A, though, you have Walton. They're coming off region titles. They swept both. Some other programs did as well. Let's see. Mill Creek swept Region 8. You had Lowndes sweep Region 1. And then in Region 2, the Carrollton boys won, but the Westlake girls won. And that one was really close. Some other teams that will be in a stacked sectional, look for Sectional A in Class 6A. You're going to have Shiloh. This is on the boys' side. Shiloh, Woodward Academy, and then Alexander, Rome, Hughes, Etowah, and Creekview all going head-to-head. I mean, they have so much depth. I think it's going to be really competitive, exciting, exhilarating to see who is able to qualify for state out of that group. And then whoever has the best weekend is going to have the best chance to get the team title. So we'll be covering that for sure. We have some big lacrosse results from last night. Looks like the Walton girls beat Brookwood. That was a big game. They were up 8-3 at the half and then ran away with it. So they move on, and I believe that was the best season Brookwood's had in lacrosse. And then I have some other news I wanted to talk about real quick. So this is a story that we'll definitely pay attention to moving forward. So Reagan Mulberry, she's a freshman at Walton. She's killing it in tennis. She's been a huge part of the soccer team's success this year as they get ready to play for the state title. And she's only a freshman. So I think she's probably one of the only players I can think of in the state right now that's going to be competing in a soccer state championship and a tennis state championship in this next week. And I think she has a chance to be a true Walton legend. You're coming in as a You're coming in as a freshman and even playing on that Walton girls tennis team, who is known as the best tennis program in the state. They are the Milton girls lacrosse of tennis. They are the Jefferson wrestling of tennis. They've been that dominant, and then she comes in, earns a spot in the lineup, and is also, in the meantime, knocking in game winners for the girls soccer team. So that's Reagan Mulberry. Her sister Hayden is a junior, and she's also killing it on the tennis team. And I believe they've advanced to the finals where they will play Lambert without dropping they'll play North Gwinnett without dropping a set. They swept Milton, Duluth, Hillgrove, and West Forsyth. And then North Gwinnett swept Wheeler. They beat Lambert 3-2, Valdosta 3-0, South Forsyth 3-0, and then now they will face mighty Walton. So that will be a big opportunity for them, and I will definitely be watching to see how Reagan does. That'll be really exciting, and her future is extremely bright, to say the least. It's a big weekend for Walton, though. The girls' tennis team, can they add another one to their dynasty? The boys and girls soccer will both be playing in the championship. I believe that's tonight, actually. And then you still have the girls lacrosse in the mix. Let's look at how many girls tennis state championships Walton has won. They will be going for number 24 this year. Truly incredible. So yeah, that is it for today's show. Najee did have something else to bring to my attention. Looks like some news, so let's react right now. Okay, so this is no way.
USA top 100.
All right, let's talk about this real quick. So these are some power rankings, and we began to see it this week. Some rankings come out.
Picture like this one is players. They got the whole field with 3 extra players too.
Okay, so that's Lipscomb Academy number 1. That's who Milton played last year to start the season. Played them competitive, lost 21-7. IMG Academy, that's not surprising. And then Milton at number 3, that is huge because I've got these rankings right here that came out. Forgot the publication. They did a top 5 for each classification, and I don't see Milton on the top 5 or as the surprise team. They have Buford, Carrollton, Colquitt, Mill Creek, and Walton at number 5, and then as the surprise team, Valdosta. Not putting Milton in there, that's tough. I think Lowndes will be good this year with Coach Carter. I think, gosh, who else in 7A off the bat? I think Grayson will be tough. Who are we missing in 7A?
Buford, Carrollton. That's Milton's definitely.
Yeah, we'll see what North Cobb can do this year. Lambert's got some talent returning.
That's a surprise
Yeah, how good's Parkview going to be? How good is North Gwinnett going to be? So yeah, that's interesting. But seeing Milton at number 3 in that national poll, whoa, that is huge. Couldn't be more different than how they came into last season, where everyone was wondering what they were even going to look like. You also see Buford at number 6. That doesn't surprise me. And then Hughes at number 9. Yeah, getting the respect they deserve for sure. And in this 6A poll, they have Gainesville number 1, Lee County number 2, Houston County number 3. I think Houston County is going to be really good this year, and they'll obviously be battle tested in that region with Lee County. And then Hughes at number 4. I've got to say I disagree with that. After what Hughes did last year, yeah, they lose some size up front, but I mean they have all those guys returning, and when you're winning by 30 or 40 points a game, I think you're still the big dog until anyone can compete with you. They do have Blessed Trinity as a surprise team, and there is definitely a lot of hype right there. They've got 8 starters returning on defense according to this, and then obviously the new coaching staff with Coach Dudley, and we'll see what BT does in 6A. That will be extremely interesting. They got Rome in that top 5 as well. I don't know if I think Gainesville would be number 1. I was obviously impressed with how they played last year, but you lose Baxter Wright, who was a really exceptional leader, a tough player, a quarterback that was able to hang in there and basically scramble his way to just unbelievable first downs to even keep Gainesville in that game against Hughes. I don't think there's many players that you can just insert in that role that would be able to do it like he did, but I mean they had such a great season. Obviously Coach Niblett will get them going. Then in 5A, they have Ware County, the reigning champs, Cartersville, Warner Robins, Creekside Calhoun, and then the surprise team is Kell. I think the obvious thing is watch out for Cass this year, and also potentially watch out for Jefferson and Sammy Brown going into his senior year. Class 4A, Benedictine, the defending champs, Bainbridge. I actually really liked that in the top 5. I thought Bainbridge was tremendous last year. And then who did they end up beating in the playoffs? Let's see. I was just looking at that last week. But Bainbridge, that's Coach Littleton. They have recently won a state title. And what Bainbridge always does, I mean, they play ridiculously tough schedules. They'll play Colquitt. They'll play all these big South Georgia powerhouses that are in the higher classifications and come out with victories in a lot of them. Let's look at their season. So I do like Bainbridge at number 2. So yeah, last year Bainbridge opened the season against Cedar Grove, Coffee, Thomas County Central, Thomasville, Brooks County, and Ware County. Ridiculous. That's 5 top 10 opponents, 1 state champion, and 1 finalist with Cedar Grove. And then they ended up, that's right, they lost to Cedartown by 5 points in the quarterfinals. Cedartown was another state finalist. So they played a ridiculous schedule last year. Ended up going 6-4, but that is 8-5. But that is a very deceptive 8-5 because they were outstanding. Perry's in there, Troop, Cedartown, and then they have the surprise at Central Carroll due to their quarterback Devin Powell and apparently a freshman phenom J.R. Harris that are going to be leading that Central Carrollton offense. I think Stockbridge is a team that I consider to be in the top 5 or a surprise team this year. They were really tough last season. Did not have many games that weren't decided by just a few points. And I think there's a lot of teams like that. in 4A. LaGrange didn't lose any games by more than a single score. Stars Mill didn't. Whitewater's going to be good. Trinity Christian's going to be good again. And then watch out for North Oconee. In 3A, Thomasville number 1, Cedar Grove number 2. I would just not have it in me to bet against Cedar Grove. Doherty, they're obviously coming off a incredible year. I think Peach County will be really exciting, and then Sandy Creek's in there. Their surprise is Crisp County. They'll have, obviously 3A is going to be really exciting. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, though. They got Thompson at number 1 in 2A, the defending champs. They're going to lose a lot of playmakers. Fitzgerald was younger last year. Northeast Macon had a good season. And their surprise is Callaway. I like that pick. Callaway is very underrated. I think they made a tremendous run last year. Their only big hiccup was they lost to Cedartown early on, who was just more experienced and an outstanding team. But how they stack up within 2A is really good. So I like the Cavaliers. They got Prince Avenue Christian, number 1 in Class A Division 1. That's a good pick. Big storyline there is going to be how big of a season can Gavin Hall have, the former Hebron Christian quarterback that's going over there to fill in for all those 1,000-yard receivers they lost. He's a big-time playmaker. Can obviously play the quarterback position, but now he's going to try to step into that primary receiver role. And then in Class A Division 2, they've got Clinch County, Bowden, Early County, Schley County, Wilcox, and Dooley. We'll see about that. Clinch County, that's a good pick. And then Bowden is obviously the defending champs, but they're going to lose a lot. But I know they've been in that weight room once again, the Red Devils. But we will be back on Monday. You guys, go to the Score Atlanta YouTube page. We have so much content there. Naj's been uploading so many videos, so there's some great stuff, some short clips. It's all in the title. You can see if it's a topic you want to click in, if it's something you're interested in. I mean, the videos are blowing up, and we would really appreciate the support on that page. But we'll see you next week. Hope everyone has a good weekend.